Yo, what is going on, guys? TymeStopper here, coming back at you another Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, in this video, we're going to be talking about the Pythion Fusion Calendar, what you need to do to make sure that you get this banger of a fusion done, because this is one you don't want to miss, and I have some tips that are going to make it a little bit easier on you, and we're going to talk a little bit about the misinformation that's out there about the rewards and how they are being taken away from you for these 4th anniversary event points. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. Okay, guys, first and foremost, we are going to be talking about the Pythion Fusion Calendar real briefly here. As you guys all know, Plarium did put out their Fragment Event Calendar, which I'll put up on screen here. This is basically going to tell us that we need to get 100 fragments, and these are the events that we have lined up. Shows you how many you can get and everything like that. The brief overview is that you can get 115 fragments, and you can get an additional 40 if you place first or second in any of your tournament brackets. So 155 total maximum that you could get. Obviously, there's no bonus points for going over. And if I'm being honest, I'm hearing some stuff about how like the whales of the game are planning to go over and get extra fragments so that, you know, when they get offered those stupid packs that they try to sell you, that maybe they can get some extra ones. Well, I have bad news. If you've already fused the champion, they're not going to offer you those packs. How do I know that? Well, once upon a time, your boy might have spent a little bit of money on the game. And if we go over here and we take a look at past fragment fusions, you can see that Rorik Wormbane, I have 60 fragments of him. That's because I got 160 fragments during the fusion thing. I fused him, and then they came out with a special where they were supposed to be selling the additional fragments. If basically you had at least 50, they were going to sell you up to 50 more fragments. They never offered me any. And that's because once you fuse the champion, they're not going to offer them to you. They figure most people aren't going to buy them. It's only once you haven't fused them and you're short will they offer them to you. So if that was your plan to try to get a second one, I have bad news. For the rest of us that are here on Earth who don't plan on going crazy, we need a plan on how we can get this thing done. Now, if you've been watching the channel for any period of time, you already know that I put out my own fusion calendar. I've been tracking these fusions literally forever. I'm going to bring it over here, boom, real quick. So we got the fusion calendar right here. I'm kind of hiding a little bit of it there, but it doesn't really matter. What matters most here is you can see, and I'll keep this up to date, by the way. Every single time an event drops, I will put the amount of points that you need for each one on here. Now, you can see how things line up and everything like that. And I'll leave a link to this in the video description down below, too, if you guys just want to make a copy of it or reference it or whatever you want to do. I really don't care, to be quite honest with you. But the nice thing about me keeping track of this is I'm able to kind of go back and take a look at past events and see, you know, is the things or are the thresholds normal? Where are they at, etc. Now, you can go over to the table of contents if you want, and this has all the fusions since I started tracking them beginning of 2021 with the Astralon fusion. And you can click on these and it'll take you right to the tab for the fusion or whatnot, or you can go find it down across the bottom. Now, so we've had 2 events already drop for this Pythion fusion, right? We've had the Ice Golem and we have Champ Training. Ice Golem, it came out at 2250 points to get your fragments. How does that compare? Well, I can tell you, I've looked at this a million times and it is literally almost every single time 2250 points. For every dungeon, if we go back to Mighty Uko, you can see Dragon, Ice Golem, Fire Knight, Spider, 2250. It is literally 2250 on almost any single, it doesn't matter what kind of fusion it is. Now, I will say that generally fragment fusions are slightly different than traditional fusions, not in that you don't need to rank things up, but even in how they like figure out the points that you need a lot of times to get stuff. So to compare apples to apples, you really have to be comparing this to other fragment fusions. The most recent fragment fusion is the Mighty Uko fragment fusion. So if we go back to the Mighty Uko Fragment Fusion and take a look at where the points are on these, it'll give you a good idea of about how many points you're going to need for each of these events so you can plan out your time wisely. Now, why do I say that you need to plan your time wisely? Well, because there's going to be a lot of opportunities where things cross over, and there's going to be some opportunities where things do not cross over. And you want to make sure that you are hitting things with the most bang for your buck, like double dipping, as I like to call it, right? So for example, today, if we look at the Fusion calendar, we are on the 12th. I can go up here and click on the 12th. We can see that right now we have an Ice Golem tournament running and we have Champ Training running, okay? However, starting tomorrow, we are going to be picking up a Dungeon Divers tournament as well. So that's going to give us an opportunity to be able to double dip either Ice Golem or Champ Training with that Dungeon Divers, or maybe even both. So what my plan is for today is I'm just using up my free energy in Ice Golem, allowing it to regenerate throughout the day. And I'll continue to like do Ice Golem runs and things like that. But I don't plan on actually putting any effort forth on Ice Golem until tomorrow when that Dungeon Divers launches. That way, while I'm also doing the Ice Golem, I'm getting Dungeon Divers. So my goal will be to go to the 2250 threshold to get the fragments that I need in Ice Golem and just stop, okay? So wherever that puts me in Dungeon Divers, that's going to give me an idea for how hard I need to work on Champ Training as well. So with Champ Training, you have two ways you can do Champ Training, right? You can do it by running champions through the campaign and ranking them up that way, or you can do them in the tavern by using brews. But if you do too much in the tavern, you won't be getting double points for Dungeon Divers. That's why we want to do the Ice Golem first with any kind of like free energy or any energy we gather tomorrow. Finish it up first and then start working on Champ Training and do Champ Training through energy, through campaign for the most part until you've hit the top threshold for Dungeon Divers, right? So Dungeon Divers, there's only be 5 fragments in there. If we look back at the Mighty Uko Fusion one more time, we can see, where'd he go? Boom. Mighty Uko, Dungeon Divers, we needed 3,750 points, but that's because it was a 5-day, 4.5 day Dungeon Divers. The ones that were 3.5 days were only 2,850, right? So we're guessing that we're probably going to need about 2,850 points in this Dungeon Divers. Now we compare energy to points. Generally, what you'll find is that if you're doing stage 20 or higher of dungeons, roughly, you're going to get about 1 point per energy in a tournament and about 0.75 to 0.85 points per energy in an event, right? So quick math says if we need 3,000 points for a Dungeon Divers, as an example, let me bring up a calculator here real quick. Boom. Let's say we need 2,850 points, okay? And we want to know how much energy that's going to take us. We can just go and say 2,850 times 1.25. And that means it's going to take us about 3,500 energy to do Dungeon Divers. But remember, we're already doing some of that with Ice Golem at the same time. So Ice Golem is 2,250 points. We know it's about 1 energy per unit. So if we did 2,250 already, that means we only need about 1,400 energy worth in Champ Training to also finish Dungeon Divers. So it should be pretty easy from the looks of it. I hope that makes sense. I know it sounds a little convoluted, but it's basically a way for you to kind of be double dipping and figure out how much energy you're going to be using. Now, this is super easy to do without spending, just in case anyone tries to tell you different, because you get plenty of free energy every single day. And if you've been playing it smart, you've been collecting up free energy all over the place. You'll see that I got some red dots, and you guys know I hate red dots, but if I go over here to Plarium Play Points, let me take myself away real quick. Boom. You can see that I've already gotten 250 energy down there. So I'm saving that up because I don't need to use that yet. I want to save that up and wait till we get to an event where I need to use energy. Same thing over here. Fusion warm-up event, right? So the other day I needed to use some energy there, but you can see that I have 100 energy saved up right there. So, and then tonight when the rollover happens, any energy that I get, I will literally just hang on to till tomorrow when Dungeon Diver starts. Now, if you're really, really good you won your personal rewards CVC this last time. And if you were super smart and you did some math, you knew that if you didn't collect the energy from it, it would go to your inbox and it would expire just as this dungeon diver starts. If we go down here, you can see here's my CVC tournament reward, 2,400 energy. I have 16 hours left on it because I literally let it go through at the end, right? So if you don't collect your CVC rewards, they just automatically go to your inbox, and then they stay in your inbox for an additional 6 days. So it basically gave me almost a week's worth of time to not have to use that energy. And then right before time for Dungeon Divers to start, I grab this energy up and boom, I can run it in Ice Golem. I can run it in Champ Training, wherever I need to run that energy. So it kind of lets me double dip a little bit. So I hope that kind of makes sense for you guys. Now, one other thing I want to cover real quickly without getting too far into the weeds here is I'm already hearing people complain that they're losing rewards on this Ice Golem tournament because of the Plarium 4th anniversary events right here, right? So you get 500 points at 950. And they're like, oh my God, they took away our gems, they took away our shards, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm here to be the bearer of bad news, but that actually didn't happen. Because we have proof, because I save screenshots from this type of stuff. So if you take a look here, you can see like the Mighty Uko, for example, Ice Golem tournament. What's missing is not gems. It's not anything that anyone even remotely cares about. At 950 points, we had 7 brews. So that's basically what we lost. Now you can see the coins are slightly different. And Uko, it looks like, had a ancient shard there. And in this one, we're getting 40 gems. So I don't think that's probably fair. But I mean, we didn't lose gems because there wasn't any to be had in Mighty Uko. And then at the very top there, you can see that they had a Chaos Ore, and here we're getting an Epic Book. So that really comes down to what you value more, to be quite honest with you. 5-star Epic Chaos Ore, to me, is just trash. Not even worth it. I think I have probably 20 pieces of it. I can't even find gear to use it on. So I'd probably take an Epic Book over that, no matter where I'm at in the game. Whether I'm early, mid, late game, doesn't matter. Even if you're at the point where you're like, I don't even need a ton of Epic Books, still probably better than the Chaos Ore. So you really can't complain there. Now, as for the training event, very similar thing. If you look at the training event from Mighty Uko, and we go over to the current champion training event, we can bring that up right here. And you can see that on the current champion training event, we have 1,000 anniversary points at 7,050. Now, if we bring up the Uko training event calendar, again, like for like, right? Could I go back and cherry pick other ones? Yes. And make it look bad? 100%. But no, this is the most recent fragment fusion that was done. And you can see where the points are, where we need to do stuff. So looking at the top row, Mighty Uko, we needed 350 points to get 15 gems. Current one, you only need 300 points. Everything looks like it's a little bit less across the top. And then if we go down here, we can see that Mighty Uko, we needed 3,500 points to get the first set of fragments. With this one, we do need 5,350, which is a bit higher for sure. But then if we go down to the bottom row where you see the Mighty Uko, we have our second set of Mighty Uko fragments at 9,350, whereas the current one, you only need 8,000. Now, what's missing? Well, if we go back and look at the box previous to Mighty Uko's fragments, we can see there's an Immortal Soul Essence there. And in this case, they gave us anniversary points. So is it fair? I don't know. I mean, it depends on how much you value the essence and things like that. Again, if you look at the current one, you can see that we have an ancient shard on there, which we didn't have on the Uko one. You can see that the legendary skill tome is only at 12,000 instead of the 13,400 like the Mighty Uko. So yes, there's going to be some variance, and that's completely fine. But this whole like rhetoric where they're taking our rewards for these stupid Plarium play points and for the anniversary points and stuff, I just don't see it, right? So let's just stop with all that. Let's play the game, enjoy it, have a good time. But hopefully the little bit of information I provided here as to like a guide has helped you some. I hope to be able to put out like some kind of like other ones as we go along throughout this Fusion and whatnot. But if you do have any questions for me about this, about past ones or whatever, please let me know in the comments down below. Hopefully everybody can get this Fusion done. It's obviously a super powerful Fusion for almost anyone's account at this point, no matter where you're at in the game, whether you're early game, mid game, end game, it is going to be a great Fusion. So if you want, again, the link to my Fusion calendar with all the past ones is in the video description down below if you want to check it out. If you want to mess around with it and change it, you can just make a copy of it, use it on your own. But guys, I do want to thank you guys so much for watching until the end. Of course, if you did like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and of course, as always, until next time, be good.